2021 forecasting for each individual rising sign. I would just like to start with a general overview. And I'd also like to start by thanking the Almighty God for protecting us and helping us through 2020, as He will continue doing for us moving forward. Now we will see a shift towards more online schooling, shopping with the North Node in Gemini, as we've seen happening already in 2020, including most forms of communication, trade, other businesses and online businesses will become the norm. Cash will be less heard of, and eventually moving more towards the past and digital forms. So for most of 2021, we could be experiencing some uncomfortability as we have a difficult square aspect in the sky between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus, both fixed signs that don't really want to budge, and both are co-rulers of this beautiful Aquarian age that we're moving into now. And they are not in a harmonious conversation, and therefore we can expect that this is going to take more work and will take more time before the idealistic Aquarian age can be reached, so to speak. We will have to contend with much more restrictions of our freedoms. We'll have to contend with restrictions that will include freedom of speech on all platforms, probably, information, the internet, separation, probably new legislation in regards to aviation in general and flying. Of course, a lack of privacy goes with tracking, as well as alliance integration. And really it is the old versus the new, and we will see many rebel and stand up for their rights, and we'll also see a lot of disciplinary action and fining throughout the year. It's very much an order out of chaos energy, so I don't want to pretend like this is going to be this amazing year. Of course, there will be blessings. It's very seldom in life where we only have good or only have bad. There's always a mixture of the two, and it'll all depend on how we approach our obstacles. We'll be forced to be more creative and to find new possibilities and to connect to the higher vibration of God. We will probably learn to live more moment to moment and to really appreciate the little things, to appreciate the family, our family that's around us that we normally take for granted. And it will be good for us to stay in gratitude of the things that we do have and do the best with what we can and what we do have, and to focus on nature and on the sunrise, to remind yourself that God is still in control and that the truth is steady and secure. And as long as you're rooted in the truth, nothing can sway you, and it doesn't matter what your circumstances or reality look like, you know where your roots are. So that will be very important throughout the year. And we will be moving towards living much lighter and more flexible. It will be wise to be prepared, and also to really look where you can be of service and of help in the community as well, and how people can help each other. I recently saw in Marketplace a lady that started a group that just basically gives things away. So it's people that maybe they didn't lose their job, and they still have an income and they're still okay, but they have maybe some children's shoes that they don't need anymore, and instead of selling them, they're donating them, or they're just posting it and someone can come pick it up, hey, I've got a size 7 this or that. And people are really starting to come together and help each other out, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that. And your currency is really going to become your talents and skills and the things that make you unique. And if you can sew something and someone else can build something, and you can trade services and you can trade things, we're going to see a lot more of that happening going forward. We'll see a lot of ups and downs, like I've said in my previous video as well, of the financial world. We're looking at a global recession for a long time. This is also a time where we will become more aware of each other's similarities and connectedness than each other's differences. And we will be more focused on our purpose and the contemplation of the deeper meaning of life and the deeper side of life. And that'll be more the order of the day. And Jupiter will bring in much learning and also guidance from above to help us navigate through this grief period of the loss of the familiar. And it will allow us to tap into the Creator's energy and make lemonade out of lemons. And through that, we will establish amazing connections with like-minded people, with our Creator, and there will be much spiritual blessings coming from this year going forward. So let's begin with your individual rising signs 2021 forecasting. Welcome, Aquarius rising sun or moon. Please listen to your rising sign first, as this will give you the most accurate placement in the forecast. Now let's start with your 12th house, where Capricorn is and where Pluto has been since 2008 and will be until 2023. Now with Pluto in this area, let's first go over your 12th house. Your 12th house deals with separation. It deals with areas like hospitals or faraway places where you're a bit more apart. It can be bed pleasures, your sleep, it can be dreams, it can be self-sabotage like alcoholism or just bad habits that you have. It can be subconscious patterns from the past, endings in general, music, poetry, and so forth. It can also deal with orphans and charity and that type of endeavors as well. Now, with Pluto here, you will most likely, this is a long transit. Now, Pluto usually starts by breaking things down and then building them up. So sometimes it can be a bit of a difficult transit for some people, depending on your natal chart. It's all relative to that. So it'll be different for everyone. If you're someone that has a lot of baggage from the past or from past lives, or have old subconscious patterns that's been sort of controlling you in some way, this will be a time where you'll be able to clear that out and purge that and transmute the darkness into light, as I like to call it. And this really needs to occur before you can start rebuilding yourself from the inside out, especially once Pluto exits this area. So issues from the past can come up in order for you to transform, pain into wisdom, for example. confronting your more darker sides of who you are, and childhood behaviors that you might have picked up in order for you to survive certain conditions in certain times in your life. This is a great time to see a therapist if you feel that you might need it, if it's deep enough for you to need that. But this is a period where you will want to be able to take conscious control back in order for you to control your behavior now instead of it being subconsciously influenced. Sometimes during this process we can alienate someone without realizing it, and then they can sort of become almost like an enemy in a way, a secret enemy in a way, because we're not communicating with them as much or in the same way anymore. So this is important for you to be aware of that and to also deal with these things and free each other through forgiveness and dealing with what's happened in the past, in order for you to reach a place of freedom in both instances. And then Neptune is in Pisces in your second house and has been there since 2011, 12 to 2025. And your second house deals with your income, it deals with your job, it deals with your security, your sense of security, your sense of safety, your resources, your talents. It also deals with your future, property, movable possessions. It can deal with your intake, what you're eating, and your banking and investing and so forth. Now with Neptune here, you can undergo a change in regards to your material possessions and value, a reorientation of sorts, reevaluating these things, really thinking deeply upon them. Be careful for mistakes in regards to property and losses in this area, financial losses, property possessions due to misunderstandings or deceit of some kind, or just misinformation, or being misled in some way. So this can be a time, and this is a long transit, so it doesn't mean you're going to experience this throughout this transit, but your chances are higher with this here. So be more aware of that and check things out really well. It can be of great importance to not attach yourself to the material, because Neptune likes to teach us to let go and let God. So it's important to not let your possessions own you, so to speak. It's not a wonderful time for investments or for gambling or to be involved in any kind of speculative matters. Your values will most likely become more spiritualized during this transit of Neptune here. And you might start seeing your life in a completely different way, and that what you actually need and what it actually does for you, all of those things are going to start changing for you with this transit. And you will have more faith in God's provision, and as long as you also just be careful of not being taken advantage of through this transit in your everyday dealings and so forth. Sometimes this can also indicate making an income through music or film or some kind of art, like poetry, things like that. And then Uranus is in Taurus and has been since 2018 until 2026. And Uranus is in your fourth house, which is the house of your home, the house of domestic affairs. It's the house of parents, especially a father. It can be the area of family, inheritance, your roots, and so forth. Now, with Uranus here, you can expect unexpected events in regards to this area of your life. So be flexible in this area, and the changes that will occur during this transit is there to free you ultimately in some way or some area of it. So sometimes when unexpected changes occur, we can initially be a bit taken aback by it or shocked or consider it negative when it's maybe even not negative at all, just because it's unexpected and sort of takes you for a shock, especially if you're someone that doesn't do well with change normally. But this can also bring up issues from the past. It can bring up childhood things that surface, issues with your parents, your sense of security, the actual home that you're in. You could maybe suddenly have to move or change something, in the home. Your foundation might suddenly be shaken in a way. Sometimes it can indicate a divorce or some kind of separation. It can sometimes indicate accidents or changes in the home. If you've had a very rigid kind of foundational structure in regards to parents or the home environment, this can sometimes be a bit harder to deal with. You can feel more challenged here. So it's important to stay flexible and open. It can even feel initially, if there's a sudden change, that you've kind of lost who you are or lost your security or your roots. But you will regain that at some point. But this is a change that needs to happen in order for you to grow. And in order for old, rigid patterning not to dominate you as much. But basically you will be forced by events to face issues of the past. Very personal levels of also personal relationships, but really deep levels of the subconscious mind and emotions. Sometimes it can mean repairs in the home. It can mean just sudden changes. Maybe you want to suddenly do something very unconventional that you've never thought of before. Maybe it's an invention that you're doing, or you decide to move to a very strange place, like maybe you're moving, from New York City to a farm somewhere in the African savannah, something completely different. But you will be more free after this. You will see the world in a different way. And you will have gained a lot of wisdom and experience through this time. You can also experience a lot of instability in regards to finances with Uranus and Taurus. And this is across the board collectively. But I mention it because Taurus is a financial sign as well. So there can be fluctuations financially. And then Saturn will be in Aquarius in your first house. And this will be as of December 2020 until 2023. And your first house is you. It's your physical body. It's your health. It is your perspective on life, your attitude, your intentions, your personality, your look, how others see you, how others perceive you. It affects your relationship with your partner, your business partner, your close closest relationships. And it's also got to do with, say, the condition of your vehicle that you drive every day, your everyday things that you're dealing with, the present moment. It can also include great-grandchildren and grandparents. And with Saturn in your first house, entering your first house, you've been through a completion of an important soul's journey for the last 14 years. You've learned a lot about the world and about the outside world and other people's way of doing things, and this is a time where a new internal maturing is starting now, where you sort of are more focused on your internal world. You're ready to learn more about yourself. What do you really want? What do you really need? You'll be figuring that out more during this 2.5 year transit through your first house, especially. And you'll be thinking more how to utilize your time. What makes you happy? What do you need to be successful in the future? You might feel a bit more tired physically, maybe even a bit quieter or more secluded, more withdrawn, maybe thinking and talking about more serious topics. Some people can even be a little bit negative, or but it's more because your head is where it needs to be right now. It needs to be on the important things, and you're really trying to figure out yourself during this transit. And sometimes you can deal with some failures or some obstacles during this, but it's all part of this inner restructuring. So give yourself the freedom of having more time, if possible, to allow yourself to go through these things, and that Saturn is teaching you lessons here. And through everything that you will be going through, you will be learning and growing from. And some people sometimes find that they, if they don't allow themselves to rest enough, because it can also make you work really hard on things that, and it cannot be that fun. It's not a very happy, optimistic time necessarily. It can be more of a serious time, important things, maturing, that type of thing. But if you don't allow yourself to sort of take it a little bit easier and allow yourself this process, it can maybe show up in skin conditions, the stress, or and so forth. So if you notice that, give yourself some relief, allow yourself this time, and learn to get to know who you are, because this is a period where you will be unlearning old ways learned by others, and you will want to start thinking more for yourself. And then Jupiter will be also in your first house as of December 2020, and Jupiter will be there until the end of November, and briefly move into Pisces in your second house around May or June. So Jupiter is a real blessing to have, especially as it's going to be moving with Saturn into this house, and this will benefit and improve also the fact of you looking more internally and looking at the truth of who you are, and gaining more experience and learning. You'll be learning a lot with Jupiter here. And this will be a growth period for you. This will be much beneficial for your relationships, especially your close relationship with a partner or a business partner. It can indicate assistance from others, blessings from above. People can come into your life that assist you or support you in some way. Resources can come to you unexpectedly. You might be much more spiritually aware during this time and more focused on the spiritual dimension, and growing that more than you are focused on growing the material, because you'll start noticing that the material world is not enough, and so forth. So you will probably notice that you might feel more confident with this transit and more optimistic. So you'll be a bit more joyful, which is great, especially because Saturn is here. And it'll help you in purging aspects of your life that needs to be purged. And it brings in healing, which is wonderful. And success, especially in your relationships. And you'll have a more optimistic attitude and perspective of life. Just be aware that you can gain weight with this type of transit with Jupiter here, and so be careful of sugar and foods that can actually affect the liver. But you will be learning and growing, and not just in a maturing way, but also in a spiritual way. And you will be benefiting greatly from this transit. And then Jupiter will also go into May, June into Pisces, into your second house of income and your work and your values. And with Jupiter here, it can indicate a gain financially. It can indicate assistance or a blessing of some kind, either through property or through possessions or through finances. Sometimes it can bring in blessings through your talents or in regards to your talents. Maybe an opportunity for you to use a talent. Maybe you get an opportunity to sing or to invest into foreign type of investments. Sometimes it's a teaching opportunity or a travel opportunity. Be careful though of overindulging in food, and also in overspending or mismanaging funds. So it's better to plan ahead financially and also save for a rainy day, especially in the times that we are living in. But through managing the material world will lead you to a greater understanding of yourself. And reasonable investments are okay during this time. Reasonable investments. Just make sure that you check things out really, really well, because you have Neptune sitting in this house. And like I said before, there can be misunderstandings, there can be deceit, things like that. So you want to be super careful. And then let's have a look at Mars. Mars will be in Taurus as of the 7th of January. And this is in your 4th house of home, parents, family, like I've mentioned before, because this is where Uranus is. And with Mars here, your determination increases, your practical direction increases. Be careful of being triggered of unconscious behavior patterns from the past, like from your childhood. This can sometimes make you act inappropriately, and it can make you difficult to deal with. You might find that you are more busy during this time at home. Maybe you're working at home, or maybe you're working on your home, or building a home, or starting a home business. But there'll be more activity in and around your home. Sometimes you can act a bit selfish during this transit, where you maybe want things your way, and you don't accept others' opinions. So try and be more cooperative and more compromising with this transit. maybe rather spend a bit more time by yourself until it's passed. Sometimes you can decide that you want to live alone or move out and live alone. It can sometimes indicate difficulties in regards to your relationships with family or parents. There can also sometimes be disputes in regards to land ownership or use of property, etc. Sometimes this transit can also challenge your professional life in some way. And then while Mars is here, Mars will conjunct Uranus at some point in this house, and this can cause erratic behavior, sudden unexpected events or upsets. Sometimes there can be accidents in the home, so be careful of being reckless. Be careful when you're cooking, you don't cut yourself. Knives, fire, electricity, power, internet, those types of things can come up. Sometimes it can indicate surgery. This can also be a family member or a parent, or a sudden move that gets activated here, a sudden power outage, or maybe you are suddenly working online. Unexpectedly, you're told to start working from home and have online meetings at Zoom, and so forth. And then you will have Mars in Cancer in your 6th house as of the 23rd of March. And your 6th house deals with your health. It deals with your office or your work environment, your co-workers. It deals with tenants or employees if you have your own business. It deals with your everyday habits, your everyday duties and responsibilities, and your work ethic. It can deal with pets and caretaking, and also with health professionals like a nurse or a doctor or a dentist or even an uncle or an aunt. And with Mars here, you can be more emotionally charged. So you can be a bit more touchy, a bit more reactive. You can be more resentful of criticism. So be aware of that. There can be conflict potentials in regards to the people in your workplace, your employees, your co-workers, and so forth. But you will be able to work really hard right now, and you'll take a lot of pride in it. You'll be able to get a lot done. You might not love working for someone else during this transit, so you might have a bit of a difficulty working under authority. So if you can work by yourself more during this time, do that. Or you might even just decide, hey, I'm going to work for myself. This might be where you decide that, or maybe start to do that. And so if you are having conflict with authority figures and so forth, try and just be more compromising and look at things from others' perspectives. Try and balance things out. This can sometimes indicate that you feel that you're maybe not getting enough recognition for what you're doing. And sometimes this can mean that you might not be giving your employees or your coworkers enough recognition. So this is a good time to investigate that and see where the imbalance is. Sometimes it can suggest health issues in regards to fevers, headaches, infections, inflammation in general, even accidents in the workplace at times. It can indicate sometimes taking your anger out on family or a woman or maybe a mother figure of some kind. But it's important to not overwork yourself with this transit, because there's a tendency to do too much and to overexert yourself. So be careful of that, otherwise it can manifest physically in an illness. And it's important to maybe sweat it out, join a gym, or start an exercise routine in order for you to release some of that excess stress and anxiety. And then Mars will oppose Pluto while it's in this house at some point, and this is where you could possibly meet up with some resistance. This can maybe be some psychological symptoms coming up, affecting you in some way, or it can be some health issue that needs attention, or some kind of a power struggle connected to the subconscious, or a health in general, or something in regards to the past. It can bring conflict in close relationships. It can also affect your sleep. It can also affect separation and endings of some kind, or powerful situations, even hospitalization in some instances. But whatever it is that you are dealing with, it's different for everyone. It can even be financial issues, but it will depend more on your natal chart as well. But whatever it is, you're meeting up with resistance here. You want to stay as calm as possible. You want to get assistance with it, and in order for you to be able to move forward. And then Mars, and of course, this is not for everyone. For some people, they might barely feel this. I'm just telling you what you potentially could see with something like this. Now, Mars will be in Leo in the 7th house of relationships. And this will be around the 11th of June. And your leadership ability is more enhanced with this transit. Your drive for power and control will be stronger. You'll have more willpower. Your sex drive will be more vigorous. You'll be more ambitious. Your urge to succeed will probably be much more magnified. But it can bring tension in your life because it's in your relationship house. It's where you can have conflicts with your spouse or a business partner or someone close to you. And it can be more difficult for you to compromise with Mars here and to balance things out. So it's important to use this energy properly, maybe work together on a project in order to sort out differences. Sometimes Mars in this area, if you've never, if you've been in a situation in your relationship where you've been over compromising, this is a wonderful transit to rebalance that and to take some of your power back and to say, let's harmonize this imbalance. And so it can be a good time to reevaluate that and really work on the relationship itself. And or like I said, it can just be you working on a project together in the relationship. Sometimes it can indicate more sexual activity. Sometimes it can indicate a legal lawsuit of some kind. But try and avoid unnecessary conflicts and aggressiveness during this time. And then while Mars is here, it will oppose Saturn in the 1st house. And this can be a bit of a frustrating aspect in regards to you might want to do something and Saturn, Mars wants to move forward and Saturn says slow down, or no, you can't right now, or you first need to do this or that before you can do this. So sometimes it can mean that you're meeting up with some form of restriction or disciplinary action, or you're just being slowed down, even physically being slowed down. But it's a great transit for focusing on your work. If you're busy with something, to really get something done. You might feel a bit more inadequate with this transit, or a bit like you're not good enough. So just be aware that this too shall pass, and just stay diligent, focusing on what is important. And you might be more concerned about establishing your own terms as far as your relationship is concerned. And in some cases, this can indicate separations in relationships. In other cases, it can sometimes help you to sort of work through some things in order to make your commitment stronger. So it all depends on where the relationship already is when these transits occur and how they get triggered, and how you utilize this energy and choose to utilize this energy. Sometimes it can indicate lawsuits, but this is ultimately a chance for you to really work and rebuild your relationship. And then let's have a look at Mars in Virgo in your 8th house. And this will be around the 29th of July. And with Mars here, this is your 8th house. It deals with shared monies, other people's money. It deals with shared resources, your spouse's income, your spouse's source of income. It deals with inheritance, losses. It can deal with debts. It can deal with death, surgery, injury, alimony, past traumas, usually even sexual traumas, and so forth. But with Mars here in Virgo, you will be more attentive to details. You'll be more orderly and efficient in this area. You'll have a more practical, solution-oriented attitude. You might have more of a intense focus on your health and hygiene and your exercise routines, and so forth. Now, usually with Mars here, it can bring up conflicts in regards to shared resources, property, finances, investments, and so forth. For example, say it's with a partner and you have a shared bank account and you've discovered that someone's been spending money on frivolous things and you have a fight over it. Sometimes it can indicate, arguments in regards to inheritance or some kind of settlement, or something of that sort. But you might be re-managing or looking at your joint resources here in some way. It's not always good advice to take out a loan during this time, but your intimacy will reach a deeper depth with this transit. And ultimately, this is sort of a death of the old and a birth of the new. So something is ending here and something is being reborn. You're making changes here. Maybe you are closing the shared account and each have your own. Maybe you are just reprioritizing this area, reinvesting something, paying off some debt, reorganizing in this area. Maybe you're working on issues in regards to past traumas. But through these events, there will be powerful, profound, deep changes within you occurring. And while Mars is here, it'll oppose Neptune in your 2nd house. So you want to be aware of possible deception in regards to shared resources or investments or other people's money, or wills and everything that I've mentioned. Sometimes this can indicate a loss or a period of confusion or just misunderstanding in regards to financial issues like this, or security, or just possessions and property. It can bring in misunderstandings. It's not a good time for investments. So be careful of fraud, be careful of schemes, be careful of charities that are not what they say they are. Sometimes Mars can, opposing Neptune here, can bring in allergies or illnesses of some kind as well, or just a general feeling of lethargy or not having as much energy as before. And then Mars will be entering Scorpio in your 10th house, and that will be around the 30th of October. And this is your area of career. This is your status. This is your reputation, your employer, your boss. It's your parents, sometimes a mother. It can also be your cousins and professionals. Now, with Mars here, your drive is more forceful and purposeful. So you'll have a higher drive to achieve at work. But be careful for the needs and perspectives and views of others, because you can sometimes be a bit more arrogant and selfish with this transit, and a bit more aggressive and a bit more short-tempered. But if you are very passionate about what you're doing or the project that you're working on right now, you'll be able to do it really well and put everything into it. You'll have more energy, your sexual drive will be more strong, you'll be able to make a good impression on people at work. But in some cases, it can bring in conflicts in this area with your boss or with a parent or an authority figure of some kind, even the law. So you want to be aware of that. Sometimes it can even suggest jealousy as far as coworkers are concerned, because you're working so hard and progressing, and there's some jealousy there. And it's important to sort of not, try and defend yourself with every single fight that comes up, or not fight, but anything that, just try and focus on your work and continue progressing forward in order to avoid uncomfortabilities. And then Mars will also be opposing Uranus during its transit through the 10th house. And this can bring in impatience. It can bring in a bit of tension between work and home. But it will affect work and home duties and responsibilities in regards to family and work. You might feel like you want to strike out at others during this. It can indicate accidents at time, either at work or at home or with family. You can maybe decide to suddenly quit under a transit like this. It's possible for some charts. And there's, like I said, the conflict possibility is very high here. So just be aware of your anger and aggression, and try and exercise more, release stress, and use your words. And then let's have a look at the retrogrades for 2021. Now, Mercury will be retrograding in all 3 air signs, so this puts an extra emphasis on communication, on information, on understanding, and the mind, your neighborhood, movement in the neighborhood, the media, and so forth. Now, with Mercury retrograding in Aquarius, it will be January 30th till February 21st, and this will be in your 1st house. And you might experience that you are reassessing how you express yourself and how others see you. You might decide to completely change your look, shave your head, dye your hair red, something unconventional or totally different from what you normally do. Your communication style could change here. Be careful of misunderstandings with others, especially close relationships here. If you become aware of gossip during this retrograde, make sure that it really is what it is, because it can sometimes be untrue. You might find you're cutting back on social events with this transit. Sometimes you can experience interruptions with the internet or power, or even financial transactions, old friends can sometimes come up either physically or in the mind in some way for you to purge and heal from that. And then there will be the Mercury retrograde in Gemini, which is your 5th house of children, fun, creative projects, and so forth. And this will be May 30th till June 23rd. And here you might find that your creativity has a little bit of a block. You know, say you're a painter and you suddenly just can't paint. So focus more on inspiration during a block like this. Get out in nature if you can, or, you know, listen to music, do something that, or talk to people, get in contact with others that are like-minded, and get some inspiration during this time. Take notes, put down ideas, you know, do some planning until you're ready to break through that block. You might incur more schedule changes during this time. Misunderstandings with children can be a thing here. Your transportation and your vehicle might undergo some changes here. Be careful. So you might have a detour, or you might realize you need to change your oil or something like that. Old lovers and can come back into your life. Also, children can come back into your life with this transit. If a child has left home, or if a child has left you in an emotional way, there's been some coldness there, or some separation of some kind, or an inability to communicate with them. Sometimes this can come up for you either in a challenging way to deal with and work through, or it can be a turnaround. And sometimes it can even bring in maybe a child that was given up for adoption in some way, and they find you again. This is not a great time to buy electronics if you can help it. And then Mercury will retrograde September 27th to October 18th in Libra, in your 9th house. And this is the area of prophecy. It's the area of higher education, religion, philosophy, dreams, faraway places, foreign countries and interests, publishing, the law. It can be grandchildren, it can be in-laws, and so forth. Now, with Mercury retrograde here, you can incur maybe travel rescheduling or interruptions or misunderstandings, so be aware of that. Double check things, double check you have travel insurance for changes. You might find that your beliefs are challenged during this time. You can have misunderstandings with others in regards to this, or with others that are different than you. You might be reassessing your beliefs or rethinking them. And it's okay to discover that you've maybe been wrong in some area or misled in some area. We're all trying to figure out how the pieces fit together. So some of us have it down in some areas, but none of us have it all down. So don't feel down on yourself if you are changing your mind on certain things that you maybe thought were the truth at some point, and you're starting to see that they aren't. It can sometimes also bring in misunderstandings in lawsuits and so forth. So make sure that you've got all your facts straight and that understanding is there. And it can also make you rethink your relationship with money, your relationship with your own inner self-worth. It can make you rethink your finances, your close relationships, and also your beauty routines, the way you look, the way you portray yourself. Sometimes it can bring in old lovers from the past in order for you to heal things from the past, or it can be a reconnection. It's not a great idea to sign contracts during this transit, and so forth. Now, like with any Mercury retrograde, you want to be aware of clear communication, negotiating, your listening and understanding, your speaking, your electronics. Don't buy new electronics if you can help it. Be aware of be careful about stolen electronics or misunderstandings with people. Double check your paperwork, double check your spelling, double check your travel tickets and your passports. Try not to sign contracts, and so forth. And then let's have a look at Venus retrograding, December 19th until January 29th. And this will be in Capricorn in your 12th house of endings, of self-sabotage, of sleep, of dreams, of faraway places, also of grief, of hospitals, and so forth. Now, with Venus retrograding here, issues related to love and money can come up. Old lovers can surface from the past, or subconscious issues in regards to that. Secrets can come to light with Venus retrograde here. Things that you were unaware of. Maybe something that's just been hidden, just somehow comes to light, especially in regards to love or money. It can be uncomfortable, so it's important to be honest during this time and take back your power. And you might be a bit more worried about what others think of you during this time. Your reputation and your look and what you earn and the type of job you have, your image and your status might be a bit more of a concern with this. You might find criticism a bit more personal. And just remember that your inner worth is not determined by what others think, or by your job, or by any of that. You determine that, and God determines that. And so don't pay attention to that. Focus on your own inner growth, and you will be the one winning in the end. And then let's have a look at Jupiter. Jupiter will be retrograding June 20th until October 18th. And this is usually a period of inner spiritual growth and reflection. And this is a period where you will be more passionate. You'll have a more of an emphasis on the meaning of life and deeper values. You'll be turned more inwards towards your spirituality. And with Jupiter retrograde here, it'll be your second and first houses. This might be a time where you rediscover some lost talents or skills, or some creative aspect of your life. You might be spending much more time in prayer and investigating your faith. And be more open to others' views in regards to this. This is important that you don't become too self-righteous here. You will be going through probably much spiritual growth during this period. And you can be challenging your own boundaries with this transit. And this is a time for you to create your own luck. To sort of move beyond your comfort zone and engage in the faith factor and not the fear factor, and sort of take that leap of faith. And you might be more inclined to be the change and demonstrate that, because you'll be noticing more of the injustices in the world. Sometimes this can indicate joining a political party or some kind of organization or group in order for you to, help others more. Maybe you're writing or teaching in order to help others. But this is a time where you'll be more spiritual, you'll be more inwardly attuned, and it's a time where you might be the one bringing assistance to others and blessings to others and helping yourself through helping others. You will find healing. And then let's have a look at Saturn. Saturn will be retrograding as of May 23rd till October 11th. And with this retrograde, this can be a time of restructuring. And Saturn reminds us of reality and the aspects of life that we cannot avoid, such as restrictions, legislation, duties, responsibilities, the length of life, time itself, those types of aspects. And with Saturn retrograde here, this is your first house. This is the house of self, the house of your personality, your perspective, how others see you, and it also affects your closest relationships. And this is a time where you really want to focus on who you are becoming. It can bring your attention to false senses of security. Your allegiances to groups might be tested during this time, and you might feel like you want to jump ship if you don't agree with them anymore. You might find that you're cutting friends or partners or close relationships in some way. Sometimes this can indicate separations or just separations from what you did before. And then let's have a look at the eclipses for 2021. There will be a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius on the 26th of May, and this will be in your 11th house. And I'm not going to be going over all the details of these eclipses. I will be doing videos on them through the year, so please check those out. I'm just basically highlighting for you the areas in which you will probably notice the effects of these eclipses, and so that you can have an idea. Now also remember that with eclipses there's a period of about 6 months to a year of effect. So this can be before or after the eclipse takes place. But this is important to remember, that you don't always see the effect on the day of the eclipse. It can be about a 6-month window of growth or ending in this area. Now with the lunar eclipse, it's more of an ending or a finalizing of things. Something comes to a head, something gets finished, something comes to fruition and becomes ripe. So in this case, it's your 11th house, and your 11th house deals with your co-workers, your company that you work for, is financials, legislation. It works with groups that you belong to, memberships, political parties. It can be your son and daughter-in-law. It can be your hopes and dreams, your goals for the future. It can sometimes be deaths in the family, and regulations and licensing and so forth. So this is a culmination of some sort or fruition of some sort in this area. So you could maybe be ending a membership or exiting some political party or some group alliance that's tested. Maybe you're cutting certain friends or colleagues, or maybe there's an ending to some kind of nostalgic hobby that you've been busy with, or something to do with a son and daughter-in-law. It can also be unrealistic goals, like say you've had a goal that you've realized now is not reachable, or you've been too idealistic about it. You need to maybe change a few things in order for you to be able to achieve it, but for now you've kind of come to the point where it's culminating, it's unrealistic. Or it could be that it is now reaching its fruition point, where you're ready to now move forward into it. And then on the 10th of June, there will be a solar eclipse in Gemini in your 5th house of children, lovers, pregnancy, fun, creativity, entertainment, theater, and so forth. And this is a new beginning energy. It's a new leaf that's being turned, new intentions. This can sometimes be a pregnancy. It can be a new child. It can be a renewed relationship with your children, or a new form of communication, or a new way of having fun, a new activity. It can be a new type of sport or creative project that's being started, even a new business of something that's your baby, something that you're doing by yourself and creating from scratch. It can also be a time where you're learning something new, or teaching something in regards to your children, a new disciplinary technique that you're using as well. Or a new idea for something creative. Maybe you want to start writing a book, and you've got this great idea for this now, and you're setting that intention, or you're starting it. And then on the 19th of November, there will be a lunar eclipse in Taurus in your 4th house. And your 4th house deals with your domestic affairs and your home and family and parents. And this can be a finalizing or a fruition of something in the home, whether it's maybe the fact that you're now moving out of your home and moving into a new home, or maybe your relationships with your parents are changing here, coming to some kind of ending, or maybe there are some subconscious issues from your childhood that you're finally dealing with and shedding in a way. This can have something to do with your roots or your family tree, some information maybe about that. That's finally coming to a head. But your innermost being can be affected here on a profound level. And there can be some kind of ending in regards to family and friends, family and parents. And basically, it can even be something like a home that's being finished, being built, or maybe you've been working on your home in some way and you're finally finishing things off, and so forth. Or maybe you're paying off your house, and or you're finalizing the plans for the build of a house. And then on the 4th of December, there will be a solar eclipse in Sagittarius in your 11th house again. Now, this is the second time this house is hit by the eclipses. So this is a focus house for you with them in regards to changes. And this is a new energy where you've had the ending energy or the finalizing energy in May. This is a new beginning energy here. So this can be a new alliance, a new friend, a new co-workers, new membership of some kind. There can be new regulations or legislation in this area. New blessing can come in here. Something new in regards to your son and daughter-in-law. Maybe a new leaf turned in a relationship here. Maybe you gain a son or daughter-in-law through a child getting married. But it can also be something like a new understanding of the world, and maybe new altruistic values, and so forth. And then throughout 2021, there will be an uncomfortable square between Saturn and Aquarius in your 1st house and Uranus in Taurus in your 4th house. Now, collectively, everyone will be feeling this square on different levels and also on similar levels regarding on where you live. But for you personally, it'll be between these two houses where you might feel it more strongly. And this will be your house of yourself, the 1st house, your present, your personality, your perspective, your body, your attitude, and so forth. And it will affect your close relationship with your partner or a business partner. And then this will also be affecting your home, your domestic affairs, family, parents, and so forth. So you might feel the uncomfortability there. This is an energy of faith versus fear. This is an energy of new versus old, restriction versus freedom, and so forth. Now, I would also recommend for you in 2021 the essential oil of pine and the Chrysocolla crystal. The essential oil of pine is a wonderful oil for so many things. I keep telling people this. Please go read up on it as well. It's wonderful for psoriasis, pimples, eczema. It's great for joint pain, arthritis. It improves the metabolism. It's good for coughs and colds. But most importantly, it's really, really good for feeling more optimistic, feeling more alive, feeling more connected to Source and to God, and also to eliminate mental stress. And it just helps you to feel more alive and more optimistic. And of course, this is a wonderful oil you can put in your diffuser, or you can mix it with a carrier oil and use it under your feet and so forth. I'm not giving you medical advice, so please check out contraindications and check everything else with, if you are going to be using it on your body, check with a medical professional that it's not going to interfere with anything else and so forth. But I will be leaving links in the description box below for a source of essential oils that I feel is very high quality, and I would definitely recommend. And then let's have a look at the Chrysocolla crystal. It's wonderful to ease emotional heartache. It can further increase one's capacity to love. It's great also to assist one in refraining from verbalization when it is more beneficial to be more silent. It's a wonderful grounding stone. It can balance your energies, and it can also help to sustain one with strength during stressful situations that can endure longer than usual. It's a purifying crystal for the home and the environment, and it can help to release distress culminating from negative emotions. So this is a wonderful stone to have for 2021. Well, Aquarius, I would like to thank you for allowing me to guide you through 2021. May God bless you and keep you, and may the sun shine bright on you this day and this year.